The year 1948 was a watershed moment for the global automotive landscape. As the smoke of the Second World War cleared, the world demanded mobility that was affordable, rugged, and profoundly practical. In this pivotal year, two diametrically opposed yet fundamentally similar vehicles emerged, the Citroën 2CV and the Land Rover Series I. While one was designed to mobilize the French peasantry across rutted farm tracks, the other was built to conquer the untamed terrain of the British Empire. Both vehicles shared a philosophy of function over form, utilizing minimalist engineering to solve massive logistical problems. Today, we dive deep into how these two legends, born from post-war scarcity, revolutionized the industry. We will explore their unique engineering, their cultural impact, and how they both debuted at major motor shows in 1948 to change the world forever. The Citroën 2CV, or Deux Chevaux, began as the TPV project, Toute Petite Voiture. The design brief was legendary. It had to carry 4 people and 50 kilograms of potatoes at 60 kilometers per hour, while using no more than 3 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. Perhaps most famously, it had to cross a plowed field with a basket of eggs on the seat without breaking a single one. This led to a radical interconnected suspension system that provided a ride quality rivaling luxury cars of the era. Pierre-Jules Boulanger's vision was a tool for the masses, a car so simple that a farmer could maintain it with basic tools. Its corrugated metal body panels and rollback canvas roof weren't just stylistic choices, they were necessitated by the shortage of steel and the need for extreme lightweighting. Underneath that tiny corrugated hood sat an engineering marvel of simplicity, a 375cc air-cooled flat twin engine. In its initial 1948 configuration, it produced a humble 9 horsepower. There was no water pump, no radiator, and no distributor. The cooling was handled by a fan bolted directly to the crankshaft, and the ignition utilized a wasted spark system. This simplicity meant there was very little to go wrong in the harsh environments of rural France. The front-wheel drive layout was also revolutionary for a mass-market economy car, providing excellent traction on muddy paths. While critics at the Paris Motor Show mocked its ugly appearance, the public saw freedom. Demand was so high that within months, the waiting list stretched to 5 years, proving that the 2CV was exactly what the post-war world needed. While Citroën was solving French mobility, the Wilks brothers at Rover were facing a crisis. They needed a stopgap project to keep their factory running during steel shortages. Legend has it that Maurice Wilks drew the outline of a vehicle in the sand at Red Wharf Bay. Inspired by the surplus World War II GPs on his farm, he envisioned a go-anywhere, do-anything machine. The Land Rover Series I was born from this necessity. Because steel was rationed, the body was constructed from Burma-Bright, an aluminum-magnesium alloy that was lightweight and rust-resistant. This accidental choice became a hallmark of the brand. Launched in 1948 with a 1.6-liter engine and a permanent 4-wheel drive system, it wasn't intended to be a long-term model, but it instantly became the favorite of explorers and farmers alike. The 1948 Land Rover Series I was more than a vehicle. It was a mobile power plant. Featuring an 80-inch wheelbase, it was designed with a power takeoff PTO system that allowed it to drive farm machinery, saws, and pumps. This made it an essential tool for the reconstruction of Britain's agricultural sector. Its 1.6-liter engine produced about 50 horsepower, which, combined with a low-range transfer box, gave it incredible climbing ability. The interior was Spartan, featuring 3-across seating and a central steering position in the very first prototype to avoid separate left-hand and right-hand drive production. The production version moved the wheel but kept the utilitarian philosophy, with removable doors and a full-down windshield that made it adaptable to any climate or mission, from the African savanna to the Australian outback. Comparing the 2CV and the Land Rover reveals 2 different paths to the same goal: durability. The 2CV was an exercise in sophisticated simplicity. Its suspension was complex in thought but simple in execution, aimed at comfort and economy. The Land Rover was an exercise in over-engineered ruggedness. It used a heavy ladder frame chassis and leaf springs to ensure it could survive the worst conditions on Earth. In 1948, France was looking inward, trying to heal its rural heartland, while Britain was looking outward, providing a vehicle that could sustain its global presence. Despite their differences, both cars used flat glass for the windows because it was cheaper and easier to replace, and both featured minimal instrumentation. They were the first truly global cars of the post-war era, prioritizing the user's needs over the manufacturer's ego. The 2CV proved so successful that its production lasted until 1990. Over 42 years, more than 3.8 million units were produced. While the basic silhouette remained the same, the engineering evolved. By the end of its life, the engine had grown to 602 cc, producing 29 horsepower, more than triple the original 1948 output. It spawned several variants, including the Sahara with 2 engines for 4-wheel drive and the fourgonette delivery van. The 2CV became a symbol of French identity, a car that bridged the gap between the pre-war era and the modern world. It was the car of students, adventurers, and families alike. Its influence can still be seen today in the design of small, efficient hatchbacks that prioritize space and character over raw speed. The Land Rover Series I didn't just stay on the farm. It became the vehicle of choice for the first overland expedition from London to Singapore. Its reputation for indestructibility led to it being used by 70% of the world's developing nations at one point. The Series I evolved into the Series II, III, and eventually the Defender, but the DNA of that 1948 80-inch model remained. It established the blueprint for the modern SUV. By the time the original Series I production ended in 1958, Land Rover had already expanded the wheelbase to 86, 88, and 107 inches to meet the demands of a global market. It proved that a vehicle designed for the harshest conditions could also find a home in the city, paving the way for the luxury off-roaders we see today. Both the 2CV and the Land Rover transcended their utilitarian origins to become cultural icons. The 2CV appeared in James Bond films and became a canvas for pop art, representing a carefree bohemian lifestyle. The Land Rover became synonymous with royalty, often seen being driven by Queen Elizabeth II at Sandringham. Today, these vehicles are highly sought after by collectors. A pristine 1948 2CV or a first-year Land Rover Series I can command prices that would have shocked their original designers. Their appeal lies in their honesty. They don't pretend to be anything they aren't. In an era of complex electronics and planned obsolescence, the 1948 dual revolution reminds us that good design is timeless, and utility is the ultimate form of luxury. As we look back at the dual automotive revolution of 1948, the impact is clear. The Citroën 2CV taught the industry how to maximize space and efficiency on a budget, while the Land Rover Series I defined the off-road capability that every modern 4x4 strives to emulate. They were born from the same post-war necessity, but solved the problem in brilliantly different ways. One gave the people of France their wings, and the other gave the world a way to explore the unknown. Together, they represent the pinnacle of 1940s engineering, a time when limitations bred innovation. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of the 2CV and the Land Rover. Their engines may be small, but their shadows on automotive history are massive.